This meeting is being recorded.
Hello there, my name is Nancy Lohr, and welcome to Reselling into Retirement, where I, for the next half hour, am going to be interviewing people who are 55 years old and older who are resellers, and they'll be sharing their successes, trials, and tribulations along their reselling journey. Today, I have a special guest with me who's been a reseller for many years, but before he was a reseller, he was a teacher and an auctioneer. I'm proud and happy to introduce Karl Hellman. Karl, did I get that right? And maybe not in the right order, but
if no, you got my name right, and it is spelled with a K, and it's 2 L's and 2 N's. And like I like to say to everyone, if you're not sure how to spell my last name, go in your refrigerator. If you have the correct mayonnaise, you're in.
Perfect. That's how I remembered it. So that works really good. I appreciate that.
I have been when I got out of college and graduated in 1977. My wife and I were married just a few weeks later, and then I taught high school history for 2 years in a small private Christian school. And I actually 2 years ago went back after 40 years and taught again. And I thought it was kind of different as far as the children were much different than they were 40 years ago.
Oh, I'll bet
probably because they're parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the whole time, I've been always interested in collecting. I started out when I was 7 years old, 60 years ago, and have been collecting ever since. In 2 sons, and I needed money to build a college education up, and so I started realizing that I had $70, and if I put it in the bank, at the time they were paying 5%, I'd have $73.50, and after 2 years I'd have 77, and I had to figure out a way to make that work. And at the time, baseball cards were really starting to take off. I got involved in baseball cards, and then the next year in 1984, I met a man who on a handshake introduced me to historical paper. I've always been interested in history, was blessed by parents that enjoyed history also, and it was just a natural, and I have been going ever since then. Basically, I've done about 2,500 flea markets where I've set up, and then in 1997, I discovered eBay, and that was really a godsend at the time, and I have been on ever since, and have been selling.
Wow. I mean, that's quite a history there. That's very interesting that you were a teacher and then you went back 40 years later. What prompted you to do that?
I received a phone call from the pastor of the church I was attending at the time saying, Brother Karl, I am in a predicament. I need somebody to supervise the high school. And since I wasn't doing anything, I like to say I'm semi-retired, but I'm actually not. I will be working for the rest of my life due to some of the things that you pointed out. Is our generation, we were told to save and save, and we'd have all this money at the end of it. And guess what? Things happened like 2008 where kind of got wiped out, and just some bad decisions along the way, and then health issues.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what life's going to throw at you.
Oh, you've got that right. And I really feel It's funny because I wanted to learn more about you. So, I've been kind of secretly stalking you over Facebook and some of the other platforms. Carl and I are both in a group called Reseller Nirvana. And that's where I found out about him and about just some of the fascinating things that you sell as far as postcards and what is ephemera? Did I pronounce that right?
Ephemera.
Ephemera. I keep messing that up. I had never heard of it actually, items called that name until you talked about it. So I think it's really fascinating. So how did you discover that there was a market and that people were interested in the E word, those items?
The E word. Well, I was fortunate that God put in my life a man named William Alderfer in 1984. I was selling basically anything that I could scrounge up along with baseball cards at a flea market in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is above Philadelphia, below Allentown, where I basically grew up in a small town called Quakertown. And Bill came by and he said, I got a shop here in the flea market here. Why don't you come back? And here he had a collection of paper, postcards, all kinds of documents. In fact, he had every signer of the Declaration of Independence but two of them in his collection. He had their autographs. And I said, well, I can't afford any of this. And he said, well, what do you mean afford it? He says, you just take some stuff, sell it, and we'll split the profits. And we did that on a handshake. And so basically the definition of ephemera is anything that's been printed for the purpose of eventually being thrown away. Fortunately, people have stored ephemera in attics and basements, in junk drawers, forever. I'm sure that if we went around your house, there's ephemera there that is collectible, and you just never know. I also started with postcards at that time, and then not only branched out to the front of the postcard, but to the back of the postcard with postal history. There's a lot of small towns all over this country that had a post office probably in their general store. And basically what happened is the post office route became too big and the general store was dissolved and the post office was dissolved and it became a discontinued post office. And there's a lot of collectors of weird stuff. Anytime I see them at I've done many postcard shows also where I've set up, you get a guy that's looking at the back, you got a real nerdy guy. So.
Well, that's so interesting. And I find it so fascinating that that there is the ability out there for anybody to develop a niche or out of their interest and to monetize it, and I think that sometimes in life we don't realize these opportunities and it's just limited by our own imagination. So it just really amazed me when you were talking about, old postcards and old items that were around the house, like you said, that you can just drum up and start selling. And there's somebody out there for that, and that it just seems to me that's what got me started in the reselling business is they tell you just find what you have around the house and sell it.
Right.
Okay. And that's just a great that's a great message. And that's something really great to remember when you're just starting out. Tell me about how the whole auctioneer part plays into your life. How did you become an auctioneer?
I grew up on the North Shore of Long Island, and my father decided he had had enough of Long Island because it was just getting so grown up. And he had a brother who met a girl from Bucks County, Pennsylvania during World War II. And one summer when he was 14, he went out there and stayed with his brother and fell in love with all the woods and all that. And he upped my mother and my brother and two sisters, and we moved to Pennsylvania.
How old were
And
you at that time?
I was 12 years old, and starting seventh grade. And in Pennsylvania, auctions are really big business. Uh, Country auctions, auctioneers, all over the state of Pennsylvania. And so I always enjoyed going to auctions. You just never know what you're going to get at an auction.
Mhm.
I especially enjoy auctions. I used to go to one on Mondays when I lived in Pennsylvania, where a guy had over 100 uh, 4 by 16 foot tables full of stuff that people brought. And he would do choice where you didn't know what the other person wanted, but you just bid up as high as you wanted, and then you got to choose one thing. And so I've always enjoyed watching auctioneers. I enjoy the banter with the people, the joking around, the camaraderie. I
Mhm.
also enjoy the human depravity of people who basically say, I am not going to let this person get this lot no matter what. I will bid up against them. And you see the best in people, you see the worst in people. And I just noticed how much fun one auctioneer was having in particular. And I was at a flea market and I met a guy who said that he was an auctioneer. And I said, oh, so did you apprentice with someone? Where in Pennsylvania, you have to apprentice with someone for at least 1 year and 30 auctions. He said, no, I went to a college, uh, local college had an auctioneering. And he said, where are you from? I said, well, I live in Lancaster County. He said, well, Reading, Pennsylvania, in their community college has an auctioneering course. And I checked into it in 2012. And I and 12 other men uh, met for 240 hours,
Wow.
thir- uh, thir- uh, 30 days of 8-hour class. And then we had to do 60 hours of what was called practicum, where we would have to uh, basically lease ourselves out to auction houses and learn how to do the auction. And then you have to take a state test. Uh, we had 32 hours of legal stuff. I thought my mind was going to blow up, and I told my wife, I said, if I would have prepared as much in college as I did for this auctioneer course, I would have been a neurosurgeon. But so then I just started, I band up together with other auctioneers in the group, and we would hold auctions. I would do house cleanouts. I would work with other auctioneers because auctions are very expensive to put on.
Mhm.
And within our area, on any given week, there are probably 70 auctions within a 30-mile radius.
Wow.
So it's an unbelievable thing. Unfortunately, in 2016, I almost died. I had to have a quadruple bypass, and I had to start thinking about what I was going to do, how I was going to set my wife up for the rest of her life in case something happened to me. And we moved to Northwest Arkansas, and we lived near his son. So it's that's the other part of getting older. You just wonder what's going to happen, because we all have that appointment with death. And so you just got to be ready. Just got to be ready. But that's basically my auction. Now I currently have my license in Pennsylvania, but I am not practicing in Arkansas because uh, of different laws and all that. And there's only like 7 auctions within a 30-mile radius a week. And the best auction here would be one of the worst auctions in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I know that, I know the feeling. I live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which some people don't even know that there's an Upper Peninsula. They think Traverse City, which is a town in the lower northern Michigan, they think that's as far as the state goes. So it's funny to me, but I'm originally from the Detroit area. First 44 years of my life, I lived there. So I mean, just the culture shock and the difference of being, like you said, in Northwest Arkansas compared to Pennsylvania. I mean, it's night and day, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I really like the pace of life here, even though it's getting a little crazy. People are discovering, because they can work remotely. So they're moving to remote places and coming and building homes and trying to change things and wanting to build up the same things that they left back in the city.
Yep.
I don't get it, but it is what it is. But I think the internet has made it so much easier for us to conduct business, which is nice in a more rural area. So, I mean, that's one thing, that makes it easier for my reselling business. And I'm sure it does for yours as well. Like you mentioned, when you were introduced to eBay back, how long ago was that?
1997.
Wow.
In fact, it wasn't even eBay. It was called Auction Web, and you just use your email address as your name, and then they decided, well, we can't keep doing that, so you got to come up with a name. And I guess I had a stroke of genius and just called it Carlectables at one
Yeah, I like
time.
that name.
So,
That's a good
yeah.
name. But
But and where I live in Northwest Arkansas, it's not. We don't have hillbillies and moonshine cabins and all that.
Jed
We're
Clampett
we're
and
only we're only 6 miles from Bentonville, which is the headquarters of Walmart. And
Okay.
so Sam Walton had a dream to really build this area up, and we have tens of thousands of people that work for Walmart or work any vendor. In fact, when I was a product manager with Velcro USA, I remember coming here back in 2002 for meetings with buyers and stuff like that. So um, this place has just boomed and continues to boom. But yeah.
yeah, things will continue to grow, and things are different. But back to talking about reselling and just people that are 55 and older who are looking for something to transition to, no matter what reason they have. How different, like in your reselling business, how different are you now than you were 20 years ago? And how has that been a benefit to your reselling business today?
Well, I've always been an everything seller.
Mm-hmm.
I joined the reseller Nirvana group, which I can personally say has been a real blessing because it's not only the two principals of it, Tech and Chris, but it's also people like yourself and many other people over, I guess it's like 2,300 people now that have all different disciplines and have all different answers. There are, I remember I did the postcard show and I did not know how to do certain technical things. I just got on the group. I said, I need some help. And boom, boom, boom. I had IT people. I had all kinds of computer wizards. And, that is the strength of the group. So how has it been different? I've always sold um, just about everything legal and moral, is like I like to put. And I like to say that everything's for sale except for three F's, and that's my faith, my family, my friends. Well, two out of three ain't bad. I can always get new friends, and if I can get a bid on them for eBay, they're gone. So now, but what I would suggest is that people, number one, as you said, start with what's around the house and start selling that way. And then maybe if you have a hobby or a niche that you enjoy, start with that. I know our group, there are many clothing resellers.
Mhm.
I wear clothing. I hate selling clothing. I just, I don't like it seems like there's a lot of returns. Do you know, Nancy? I have never had anyone buy a postcard from me and say, you know, it just wasn't what I was looking for.
Right.
It just doesn't fit right. I don't know. I'm sorry. Can I return it? No, they don't do
You got a
that.
point
They
there.
want to they want to add it to their collection.
Hmm.
And they are always very happy to get some oddball view that they don't have, or ephemera, the same thing. They add to their collection. And so there's been really no change for me. I have transformed into selling baseball hats and caps, and I'm starting to get a little traffic on that. But basically, I guess I'm going to die, and whatever I see, it doesn't matter.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point, if you have a hobby or if you have an interest, or even if a person had an interest years ago, like for instance, I loved to sew, and my mother taught me how to sew. And when I was younger, I sewed a lot of my clothing, and I sewed probably till about my mid 20s, and then I stopped because life took over. I had to work. I had other things I had to spend my time on. But I am one of those clothing sellers, which I thought I would never be a clothing seller for the same reasons that you talk about. But to me, I wanted something that was, I have daily sales, and in the Reseller Nirvana group, they talk about daily sales with clothing because of just the demand for it. And plus, it's kind of a trend now. People with wearing used clothing and buying used clothing for many reasons. And it kind of takes me back to the time when my mother was teaching me how to sew and learning about fabrics, and
Mhm.
I really like vintage fabrics and vintage clothing, and just the technique, things, the single stitching that you look for, and how different it all was back then compared to how it is now. And I'm remembering some of the things that my mom taught me. So, I think that's a good thing to keep in mind, is to look at maybe an interest that you had years ago that you want to go back to, and how you can monetize it. And you're right, being in this group, wow, I mean, there's so many people with 2,200 people strong, plus the two leaders of the group who are just off the charts dedicated. I've never seen, I don't know, have you ever seen dedication like this
No,
before?
no, no, no.
Blown away.
And no, and the fact that uh, Tech opens himself up on Tuesday nights. Uh, I remember a couple of weeks ago, I got off I guess it starts at 7 o'clock Eastern, and I the old man was getting tired. I went to bed at 11 o'clock,
I'm the
and
same way. 11
I
o'clock, I'm
came
done.
back in my office and I never turned it off. And I thought they were doing a replay, and it's 9 hours and he's still going. And basically just asking, answering any question that anyone has. And I have never seen him berate a person for asking a question. And he is just so calm. And Chris is basically the same way. And
Very chill.
so uh, I think it is the best $35 investment. And I can tell you that even if everything just goes down the river, I will plunk out that $35 just to be part of the group
I'm
and
same here.
learn.
Same here. I mean, there every minute I'm learning. I can't, there's just so much content that has been created. And for, especially for me who, like I said, I'm transitioning into reselling what I want to do full time. And I'm just a couple of years shy of retirement, which I might retire early because of this. And it's very exciting, you know, the prospect of retiring early, leaving my job, and doing this full time. I'm just crazy over. And there's the structure. And I think that's something that, you know, young or old, you know, structure is very important. And this group is what gives you that structure. And for somebody just starting out, I mean, there's nothing like it. But I want to ask you another question, because I know we're getting to be at the end of the 30 minutes. We've actually got 40 minutes on our Zoom, you know, so I kind of wanted to, you know, just in case we got caught up in a conversation, you know, I just, you know, wanted to, you know, end it a little bit earlier. But if you could go back and do things differently, what would you do differently? If anything at all, would you have gotten into the game of reselling a little earlier, or would you, but the thing is, you know, I'm asking you this question, I'm thinking, gosh, if he ever wanted to sell something different, he could just do it. You know, he could just change, you could just change right now what you're selling and say, hey, I'm done with postcards. I want to sell clothing. I saw the light with clothing.
I have a storage unit 4 minutes from my house. I have literally contemplated on gutting the room that I'm in and just start over with clothing to see how it would go.
Are you serious?
Yeah, why
Oh
not?
my gosh.
You know what? And
I kind of
and
guessed
just
that.
put it all aside. But then again, all I would need is one day where I'd have 3 or 4 returns. And no,
Yeah.
I can't do it. I'm not going to do that. I enjoy finding the craziest things. I mean, let me just share something here with you really quick. Today, here's what I'm listing. I'm listing this photograph of these 3 sisters. Okay, from Olean, New York, on a cabinet card. I'm listing a postcard of a defunct amusement park in
Oh, that's so
Maryland.
cool.
I'm listing a World War I letter satchel that somebody made out of sewing. And what they did is they would put the mail that they got from their loved one back on the front. And I also have a World War I soldier mail postcard that was
Oh,
censored before it went out by a commanding officer. So you know what? Where else can you find crazy things? Here's 2 guys in in derby hats boxing each other. So it's like
yeah.
I don't know. I just have a lot of problems with postcards. But what I do different, uh, the first thing I would do for anyone entering reselling is, and one of the strong points about the group is we have an accountant, Cheryl Miller, who really understands reselling as an accountant. I've had CPAs now for 40 years. None of them have ever been resellers. Now, she has helped me to transform my bookkeeping into a more reseller friendly thing. Find a good accountant. You do not have to have an LLC. I used to be an LLC. I am now a sole proprietor. You do not have to get fancy, but what you have to do is daily keep your records. And that's the most important thing. And the rest is just be consistent. Try to wake up every day and just say, uh, my spot is clean. I'm going to relist these things. I've started now with you'll remember these type of books,
Oh, yes.
from our past.
Yep, you bet.
I mean, if I would have spent less time coloring in the little white spots and actually wrote things in the book, I might not be sitting here today. I might be doing surgery. But in all honesty, you just get started. Just get started and look around, see what you got to sell. We all have too much stuff. I'm reminded my mother unfortunately grew up in World War II Germany, and when their house was bombed on Christmas Eve, they became refugees basically, and had nothing but basically the clothes on their back. So we have so much stuff. In fact, we have storage units with all our stuff in it.
Yep.
And you got to be able to find something you don't need and sell.
Absolutely.
But
I think that's
that's
great
about it. And the only thing I want to take issue with you is you said this was for people that are over 55. In this day and age where everyone wants to be identified in a different way, I wish to be identified as an 11-year-old boy and it's the second week of summer vacation, because that's how I've lived my life. And, it's just, it's who I am. And I, God has blessed me with a wonderful life, a wonderful wife, 2 sons, a home, a business. And you know what? He's met my needs and exceeded even some of my greeds. So it's all good. It's all good.
That's fantastic, Karl. And I really appreciate you being my guest today. And the whole 55 and over thing, the reason I am highlighting people in our age bracket is because it seems like I constantly see people that are in their 20s and 30s and 40s, and they're millionaires, and they're either reselling or they've done something on social media. I mean, they can talk to people. They're wizards at technology, which technology is, I'm much better than I was, but believe me, it was a massive learning curve. And reselling is a little bit easier as far as technology is concerned. And again, the people that are in our age bracket, we've been through so much in so many ways, and some of us have lost so much, like you mentioned. And it gives somebody hope. It gives somebody that they could take something on their counter or in their drawer and sell it and put it on eBay. Somebody wants it, which is crazy, but I want to end it now because I got about 4 minutes here. Otherwise, Zoom is going to just cut me right off. But I want to thank you for being my guest. You're so interesting to talk to, Karl. I really appreciate you being my first guest. And I'd like to hear more about some of your, I hope you're going to be doing another video, training.
Yes, I will be. I will be.
Excellent. Because
so I'm your first guest.
Yes.
Boy, you really set the bar low for the rest of them, huh?
No.
So, I mean, it's all up there from here. You start out with the low-hanging fruit, and you could go up. So, hey, I think it's a wonderful thing you're doing, Nancy. And
thank you.
And anytime I can help you out, just let me know.
Yes, and I just also wanted to reach out to people. If you are interested in anything that we have talked about, the Reseller Nirvana group, or our accountant in the group, Cheryl Miller, definitely, reach out and leave some information on how to get a hold of you, and we can definitely send you some information. And also, I'm going to say one thing. I've always wanted to say this. Guys, see, every time I watch a YouTube, I'm going to say, smash that like button. Smash that like button if you want more of this. And we'll talk again soon. Thanks again. And
how do we find you on YouTube?
Oh,
what
am I? I'm reselling into retirement. Reselling into retirement.
Okay.
That's
all
me.
one word?
No, it's 3 words.
Okay.
But hopefully I'll be doing a little more advertising, things like that, to get the word out about it. So thanks again, and talk
welcome.
soon.
Thank you.